Welcome to the council meeting. We will make a start, and if you can remain standing, and we'll say together the karakia. Whakatakatahau ki te uru, whakatakatahau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, ehi aki ana te atakura, hei tio, hei hoka, hei hauhu, ti hei mauri ora. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to ask, we have Angela James from the Baha'i community who is going to open our hui with a prayer. Angela, welcome.
Hello everyone, kia ora. So my name's Angela James and I'm a member of the Wellington Baha'i community, and I've been a Baha'i for 52 years now and enjoyed living in Wellington for the last 25 of those years. Can I start with some background to the Baha'i readings I've chosen to share? The main tenets of our faith centre around Baha'u'llah's teachings of the essential oneness and unity of mankind, the essential unity of all religions, and the need for the elimination of all forms of prejudice, which are so detrimental to the body of mankind. We have our own administrative structure within the Baha'i faith, and like a council body such as yours, the function is to serve our community to the best of our ability. So how are we to achieve this? Well, there's one thing that's indispensable, and that is through consultation. Equally important is our attitude to each other. It is with this in mind that I've chosen a small selection from the Baha'i writings to share with the council, and then I will close with a prayer, a Baha'i prayer for meetings. So firstly, Baha'u'llah says this about consultation. Consultation bestows greater awareness and transmutes conjecture into certitude. It is a shining light which in a dark world leads the way and guides. For everything there is and will continue to be a station of perfection and maturity. The maturity of the gift of understanding is made manifest through consultation. He also says, no man can attain his true station except through his justice. No power can exist except through unity. No welfare and no well-being can be attained except through consultation. And on attitude, we are called to the following. So far as ye are able, ignite a candle of love in every meeting, and with tenderness rejoice and cheer ye every heart. Care for the stranger as one of your own. Show to alien souls the same loving kindness ye bestow upon your faithful friends. I will now close with this prayer for your meeting. O thou kind Lord, these are thy servants who have gathered in this meeting, have turned unto thy kingdom, and are in need of thy bestowal and blessing. Manifest and make evident the signs of thy oneness, which have been deposited in all the realities of life. Reveal and unfold the virtues which thou hast made latent and concealed in these human realities. Help them, O God, in their endeavours, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. Thank you. Have a wonderful, productive meeting.
Thank you, Angela. I'm sure you've helped set a very, very good tone for it.
Okay,
Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Okay, councillors, if you can, please let me or Heidi or any of the other Democracy Services advisors know if you intend to leave the meeting. We'll have morning tea at 10:30. I'm hoping actually we won't take too long to get through. You never know, we might have just about done it by then. And if we are close, then we'll carry on. I have no apologies, correct? Right, conflict of interest declarations. I see none. Confirmation of the minutes of the council meeting held 28th of October 2021, seconded by Councillor Foon. Thank you. Can you all vote, please?
Your Worship, there is a vote on the table today which is relating to the appointment of either, I understand, one of us at least to...
You're thinking of conflicts of interest,
Yep.
are you? Yeah. No, you're both entitled to vote. Or anybody
Okay.
who's standing is entitled to vote as well. Yes.
I'm really confused now. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. Okay, we got everyone. Councillor Calvert? Thank you. Cool, thank you. There are no announcements from the Mayor. There are no items not on the agenda, and there are no public participants. But we do have a fair bit of, in general business, our 5 advisory groups are all going to speak to us. They've got up to 10 minutes. And if they can leave some time for questions during that 10 minutes, that would be most appreciated. So we've got them in the current order: from the Accessibility Advisory Group, Rachel Noble and Nick Ruane; the Environmental Reference Group, Lynn Cadenhead; the Pacific Advisory Group, Natalia Ferretti and Anthony Carter; the Rainbow Advisory Communities Advisory Group, Natalia Piesi and Tyler Dunkel; and from the Youth Council, Ella Flavel and Laura Jackson. So in that order. So let's start ourselves off there. Are we set to go? We've got Rachel online there. Rachel, welcome. And in fact, can I say to all of the advisory group representatives today, welcome. We're really looking forward to what you've got to say. If you can leave a bit of time for us to ask some questions, we appreciate that. And if I can just say thank you all for the fantastic mahi that you have done over the last year and the work that you're going to be doing going forward. So Rachel, welcome. Right, yep. If Rachel's not there, we might change the order. Yep. Lynn, would you like to go up the batting order and start with the ERG?
Yes,
Welcome, Lynn. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we'll start the clock going and look forward to what we've obviously all read the report. So anything you want to highlight?
It's been a really busy year, as you all know, because it's been busy for all of you. And ERG's brief includes Wellingtonians' quality of life. So that is a pretty broad brief. Few challenges. New and upcoming central government legislation. There's been a lot happening this year in that, which of course affects the council. Some progress has been made on ERG's preferred strategy of early engagement and targeted advice to council officers. So we're really pleased that we have made some progress in that. We've also made some progress in getting some better feedback loops so that when we talk to council officers, they then tell us how useful that advice and what format changes we could do, or other ways we could present stuff or feedback. So that's been useful to get that started. And that was partly as a result of actually getting the advisory group's review actually finished and out. We'd like to acknowledge and thank Councillors Paul, O'Neill and Foon for their support and involvement over that year, and also Moana for her ongoing help and support and answering lots of questions, and also our democracy advisor team, especially Heidi, for her ongoing help, and more recently to Claire. So I think I'll just allow the rest of the time for questions.
Thank you, Lynn. And again, thank you for all the work that you've done and for the comprehensive report. And you're quite right, it is a massive workload, and thank you for acknowledging that's a reflection of the massive workload that Council itself has had. I've got questions from Councillors Calvert and Day.
Do I need to stand?
Don't worry about standing for the questions. No.
No,
Yeah,
just
it's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn, and thank you to the group. One of the comments was that you just meet for 2 hours a month, but there's quite a lot of work, and I know you do there's quite a lot of heavy work and submissions. What do you see as the priorities for the group over the next 12 months, or where will you be best to focus your efforts in?
Probably there are three things. Two of them are very long-term and ongoing, which are protection of biodiversity, zero carbon change adaptation. But the immediate sort of right now one is the issues with three waters, and the fact that in the reports, not one single suburb in Wellington is up to scratch in any of the three waters, in all of the three waters. Sometimes one of the three waters is fine, but none of them are ready for growth if you look at all three of the three waters. And I think that's a significant and serious problem. And as an aside, since the middle of October, I have reported 5 wastewater spills in my local stream, 5, and 2 of them were very significant, as in one grew sewage fungi, which is a 1970s problem from terrible factories and shouldn't be occurring in suburban Wellington. And the other one, it was 3,000 bacterial count, and it should be sort of more like 400. So I think your three waters issues are significant. And we, as a group, we really like the fact that the spatial plan had phasing, but the draft district plan doesn't. So that, I think, is a problem. So you need to connect the phasing in the spatial plan to the district plan. We're not against growth and we're not against intensification, but those three waters reports are depressing reading. But don't forget biodiversity and don't forget carbon and climate.
Thanks, Councillor Day.
Kia ora, Lynn, and thank you for the mahi that you and your team do. It's a very comprehensive report and very interesting to read. I've got a question around the historic and cultural heritage principles part of your report, and I'm just wondering, there were some comments around sort of the economic advantages of retaining heritage, and I just wondered how you determined this, and was there unanimous support in your group?
Yes, all of the principles had overall support.
So I think the other comment, the other bits are under the additional material part, so it's probably not the principles, it's some additional information. It's just the comments about blending of the effect of cultural globalisation. I was just wondering if that had unanimous support from the group.
I don't actually think I can answer that, sorry. It's months since we discussed that and I haven't got them in front of me, but the principles themselves for all of the portfolios were agreed by everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Foon.
Kia ora, Lynn, and thanks for all of your mahi for ERG, and take back to the whole ERG team how much we appreciate their work. The question I have around water, and thank you for highlighting that so precisely, and thank you, Councillor Calvert, for the question. That's been really useful for me. My question was around who is the lead on water for the group now that Aaron's resigned?
I am.
You are. Fantastic. That will be helpful.
Like in that report, it's for the previous calendar year. So obviously it's, we're now well into the next year. So it's, it's not up to date. And yes, Aaron has left because he had a serious conflict of interest. He's now working in Minister Parker's office.
Great. Thanks, Lynn.
Could have been useful.
Yeah.
Lynn, just one question from me. So the issues that you highlighted with sewage, wastewater spills, what was the response from Wellington Water to those situations?
The first big one wasn't so great because I had to do multiple prods to, I probably called it in about 5 times to get a response, but I made such a lot of fuss that since then I have had instant responses. Actually, Greater Wellington is actually very good. Well, their pollution officers are very good, but they obviously transfer the wastewater stuff to Wellington Water, but they're very good. They're ineffectual, but they turn up and they ring and they are helpful and they do try to find the source. And actually Wellington Water has been good. They did a report on the last major sewage spill, which had all the coliform numbers. So that's good because that's, out in the public domain, and they emailed it to me. The last response, they'd looked at the problem and fixed it within a day or so. I emailed another one in yesterday, and I've had an initial response back to say they're looking at it.
Good.
So actually, yeah, the first one wasn't so good, but apparently it was a very complex problem with a break under a stormwater line of a wastewater system that was, it was all mixed up with different services, but they weren't very good at communicating. But no, look, so far overall it hasn't been too bad.
Yeah. Look, Lynn, thank you very much for that, and I'd much rather an improving trajectory rather than one that was going the other way.
But we've got to stop this constant, we can't have 5 of these in, well, it's actually less, it's not much more than a month.
Yep. Yep. Thank you, Lynn.
And I can email you the report on one of them.
I think it'll be interesting to see. Thank you. Yeah. We've only got 30 seconds left. It'll have to be a quick one, Councillor Foon.
Lynn, do you feel, just reading that the workload is quite heavy, do you feel that the team are able to carry that weight, or do you feel like you might need to review the amount that you're taking on?
Right now it's too much because we're looking at the cycleways, Let's Get Wellington Moving, and the district plan. And I've been leading the district plan stuff, and the technology around the submission process hasn't been working. I've had lots of to and froing, and they've now got some of the problems fixed, and that hasn't helped. In fact, one email said, thank goodness you're our guinea pig before everybody starts to try and submit. So they've now got the login and a few other issues fixed. But no, to have 3 big bodies of work out at one time with similar closing dates, it's just way too much. And I think it's not just way too much for ERG, actually. It's way too much, full stop. Our work program, believe it or not, was about 4 times the size. And I said, we just cannot do this because everybody wanted to, we're a diverse group. And if I'd put everybody's wants in there, it would have been way too much. So we cut it down, and we have actually a subsidiary list of things that we might do if someone wishes to lead into his time. So yeah, we may not manage that work program, but we'll give it a go. It varies because sometimes people are, have a huge workload in their work life, and sometimes it eases off. So there's ebb and flow. Yeah. And we're 1 member down too.
Yeah. Okay. Look, thank you very much, Lynn, and thank you again for the fantastic work that you're doing.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. I've been specifically asked that we take the Youth Council next. So Laura and Alan. Welcome.
Laura, I'm just going to give Laura the headphones so we can listen in. So 1 second. Should we give me that one? Oh, yeah. Let's do this.
Oh, that's very sharing.
Yeah, sorry guys,
Beautiful.
we didn't quite expect to be on this early.
Well, thank you. I was asked if you could do it next. If you're good to go, we're good to hear from you.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah, we're good to go.
Kia ora everyone. I think most of you know us, but I'm Laura and this is Ella, and we're the chair and deputy chair of Wellington City Youth Council. I'm really excited to be presenting to you all today. I'll just sort of quickly run through what we've covered off in our annual plan annual report, without needing to go into stricter detail about everything. But basically, it's been a massive year and a half for Youth Council. We've gone through quite a lot of changes, both in terms of structurally and based on our members. We were unable to recruit for new members last year following basically just waiting on that advisory group's review. And so that meant that at the beginning of this year, when we had a lot of submissions, we were down to a lot fewer members. So that was definitely a challenging time for Youth Council, but it's been really exciting over the past year and a half getting to work through some challenges and make some really important changes going forward. We sort of had a few main areas which we've covered off through our annual report, the first of which was the submissions that we did on city planning and the engagements around that. Youth Council did a lot of work last year on the spatial plan and trying to be one of the fewer youth-focused voices submitting on the spatial plan. That involved us doing a lot of work in the community in terms of getting in touch with other young people to teach them what the spatial plan was about and why it was important, and also doing a couple of interviews which got Youth Council on a slightly higher level of recognition in the wider community as being another youth voice that was speaking out based on our take on the spatial plan. That then led into some of the discussion we did on the long-term plan at the start of this year. Very similarly, we were able to go out into some of the high schools and really try and get the understanding of the LTP and why it was important a bit more widely spread.
Awesome. And so we also did a lot of community-based engagement. So the key ones there were the Central Library, where we had a couple robust debates as a group as to our preferred option. And then we also tried to engage through our social media with other young people. And a good thing about that was we were able to reach lots of groups of young people within the city with our graphics to explain the different options for the Central Library. So hopefully we got a few more submissions with that. The next was the strategy for children and young people. So Youth Council had ongoing involvement with this from the start of the actual design of the strategy. And so that had been a really positive experience for us with actual, creating of a submission and also the actual policy itself. Then we had Ahotini and Anastasia, one of the youth councillors, had been involved from the very beginning with the design of this. And so we had a really close involvement with that as well, which was really amazing for Youth Council and taught us a lot. So yeah, one of the really positive experiences with that as well. And then we had the Youth Hub, which was one of our main focuses for the past few years. So with Central Library closing and with Reading Cinemas closing, we were really pushing for this, and this came through in the Children and Young People strategy. And we also have a couple crossover members with Te Ahi o Ngā Rangatahi. So we worked as two groups to push that forward, and it was a really great project for all of us.
Another one of our main focuses in the last year and a half was on our member development. In particular, one way that we've been focusing on this is by trying to improve and increase the platform that Youth Council has. This has mostly been through our social media channels, mostly our Instagram. We're quite aware that the way that council tends to do social media and engagement doesn't always line up with how young people like to engage in different areas. And so that's been a real focus of ours, is trying to take some of the more complex policies and ideas which the council are presenting and portraying those in a way that young people can understand, breaking them down into easy to sort of consume graphics, and just having a really strong communication to the youth community through our online social media channels. That's been great, both in terms of us being able to engage with young people outside of just our group, but also giving a bit more experience to some of our members in terms of learning how to sort of digest some of the information they'll be giving and translating it in a way that's accessible, but also learning about skills and social media management and graphic design and things like that.
So another really big focus for us last year was making youth council a lot more accessible. So this involved taking a look at all our formalities and saying what's actually necessary here. And we got rid of a lot of things like approving minutes formally and a lot of those things that made youth council seem a lot less open to most young people. And that really was a great focus before recruitment as well. We didn't want to make youth council seem like this really inaccessible, horrible group for a very specific group of young people. And hopefully that has helped. But I think that's a continuing journey for us going into the future, is looking at where we hold our meetings, how we hold them, the way they're run. And that's something that we're continuing to develop. And then another focus of us was going out into the communities, getting lots of youth councillors to take leadership and going into schools. So we worked with the engagement team quite a lot. For example, going to Tawa College to discuss the spatial plan. And so we helped facilitate a workshop about what people would like the future of the city to look like and how to build good communities. And that was a really positive experience for youth councillors. And then we also went to Wellington High and did 2 separate engagements there. And one of those involved workshops and working with councillors and council staff members to convey points and get ideas of what young people thought, which was really awesome to know how many really engaged, bright young people there are in the city. And so that was also a really great focus for us with recruitment, as well as saying, come join us, like this is a good opportunity.
Yeah, so basically it's been a massive year and a half for Youth Council. You can see in our report the sort of breakdown of all of the work we did. So we did 14 written submissions, 15 oral submissions, and that was a mix of both to council but also to Parliament. And then we received 25 presentations from WCC officers. We did 25 engagements with the wider community and also received 8 external parties at different points in time. So it's quite a busy year for us overall.
Awesome. So now we're going to shift over to our work plan. This is going to be very brief, but basically how we did this was we went to youth councillors and presented all the potential things for next year and said, what are the key things that you're interested in? So we've got some key areas, very broad overview, because things will depend on people's capacity and what people are really interested in at the time. But for housing, we're really interested in the district plan and continuing to develop that. The environment is another focus. Transport with Let's Get Welly Moving is another really big focus for us. Waste, community-focused things, and member development. So these are going to be the main focuses, and we're going to have a really wide scope and then zoom in on what we're really interested in and what we have capacity for next year.
Yeah, that's us. Happy to take any questions.
Look, thank you both, and thank you for the whole of the Youth Council's fantastic mahi over the last year, and the ongoing mahi that you're doing as well. Councillors, are there any questions? I see none. You've been very, very clear. We've all read the report. I've got one from Councillor Foon.
Yeah, kia ora, and thank you so much, Laura and Ella, for your mahi. And it's always so inspiring to have you when you come to present for us and to us. And your voice is critical, so please keep doing what you're doing. My question is around just the way that you've talked about the different style of communication with Youth Council and just the impact that's having, out to your crew or your community. And I guess the loop would be, are we closing that back to Wellington City Council communications team? Like, is there a way for you to feed back your successes or what's worked? Because I don't know about you, but I find it hard to communicate what Wellington City Council is doing myself and simplify it and break it down. So, yeah, I think what you're learning or gathering there could be really useful for us. So, yeah, the question is, is there a feedback loop for you to come back to our WCC comms team?
Yeah, I'd say that there is definitely, we're improving that connection that there is. We've been very lucky that we've been able to work quite closely with the engagement team over the past year and a half. Claire and her team have been a great support to us, and even at the moment with our City Tomorrow stuff, we've been able to
work with them to organise some specific high school events.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just looking at strengthening that ongoing relationship and making sure that hopefully in the future it's not always youth council having to initiate, being like, okay, well, you're doing this for everyone, but what are you doing for young people? How are you getting in touch with them? So that's something that we're definitely working on, is sort of taking our experiences and our learning and trying to convey that back to the team so that we can make sure that that is a really organic engagement that's happening into younger people, but also even just through our social media channels, because I think if you look at the Instagram accounts, we tend to get a lot of people who are following the Youth Council Instagram but won't be following the main council, and that's just based on following an account that is posting just the stuff that's relevant to your sort of cohort. But the comms team with WCC has been great in terms of resharing some of that really important information to make sure that it is being more widely spread where appropriate. Yeah, we've also been really, really lucky to have the social media team come and talk to Youth Council and share their expertise as well, and also, you know, hear some feedback from us. And so we really valued that contribution as well.
Great. That's really good to hear, but I'll check in with your councillor support team and just make sure. I think that's a really good opportunity there for a reciprocated and collaborative approach.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Ella and Laura, thank you so much. We will go on to the other 3 advisory groups in just a moment. If you want to stay online for the conversation afterwards, feel free, but up to you. And thank you again.
Kia ora.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Ka kite.
Ka kite. Okay, we've now got the Rainbow Community Advisory Group. We're juggling around the order to accommodate people's arrival times and technology and so on. So, right.
Okay, well, shall I get started?
Yes, please. Yep.
All right, just give me a moment, I'll just pull up my notes. Okay, so kia ora everyone, my name is Natalie Pierce and I'm presenting today with Tyler Dunkel. We are the co-chairs of the Takatapui and Rainbow Advisory Council and are here to present the 2021 to 2022 proposed work plan. Beyond being a co-chair for this group, I'm an evaluation research consultant at Allen & Clark and am moving very shortly to an analyst role in the MSD research and evaluation team. And I will give Tyler the opportunity to introduce himself shortly when he takes over. So I'm hoping that you each have the work plan in front of you.
Yes.
Yep, the work plan was jointly developed by our group members, co-chairs, council officers and the councillor representative. The plan considers the council's priorities as well as the skills, experience, interests and commitments of our members. And the plan outlines our kaupapa and how we will provide input into the city policy and initiatives, as well as how we hope to influence and guide Wellington City Council on initiatives of importance for 2 Rainbow and Takatapui communities. So you may have noticed that the document in front of you currently reads Wellington City Council, Rainbow and Takatapui Advisory Group. However, after some recent group discussions, we would like to rename the group Takatapui and Rainbow Advisory Council, otherwise known as TRAC. And we'd also like to allocate 2 seats within the group reserved specifically for Takatapui members. So beyond immediately incorporating Takatapui into our name, we also intend to complete further mahi over the next 6 months to build our competency in this space and engage mana whenua with the goal to be gifted a Māori name when it's deemed appropriate. Our group has also selected a guiding whakatauki to ground our work. This whakatauki alludes to the idea that, like native bird species, we as humans have individualistic traits, all of which are valuable and essential to build a truly cohesive world. And I'll just pass now to Tyler.
Ora, I think I'll start with our whakatauki here. E koe koe te tui, e kite kite te kaka, e kui kui te kararu. The tui squawks, the kaka chatters, the kararu coos. We really felt like this resonated with us as a group, and we're excited to add that into the document today. Like Natalie introduced, ko Tyler toko ingoa. I've been in Wellington now for 6 going on 7 years. I'm a business growth manager with our CCO Wellington and Z, so really pleased to be working in this space with council as well as with a council controlled agency. We have been really pleased to be able to put this plan together as the first rainbow group that is going to be able to work with you folks, and particularly myself. I'm quite pleased to have had council made the big step to encourage CCOs to work more in the Rainbow Committee. Thank you for those of you that were able to help put that through. We really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to being able, with both my hats, to work on those programs together. Our work plan over what's realistically the next 6 months, we expect we'll probably get a very small update next time we present to you and continue on. But we're looking very broadly at 3 different kind of pillars of work. The first, of course, is infrastructure, education, and development. And you'll notice underneath that heading that there's a little bit of intent and some specific plans and strategies that we might like to work on. We move to the next pillar of health, safety, well-being, and accessibility. Again, the same, there's some more information there for you. And then we move to community culture and visibility. I think with all things that we want to do with this group, we are looking to be extremely inclusive and diverse in the approach that we take. And we are excited to share our knowledge and our abilities with council officers and also with councilors as projects come up. We'd very much like to look how we can assist Wellington City Council internally to become the best diverse and inclusive organization that it can be, and as well as outside in our community. Of course, we're all working to make Wellington that great livable city that's exciting for people to come and prosper in. We really didn't want to talk too much at you. We know that you've read the document and we expect that you'll have questions. So we really wanted to mostly spend our time talking with you. Councillor Penn, looks like you've had your hand up for a bit. Would you like to start?
Thanks, Tyler. I'll do the cheering.
Oh,
nice.
I got overexcited.
So look, Natalie and Tyler, thank you both for your presentation of the work that's been done so far. Just one quick question from me. Would you like us to just reflect the change of name in the recommendations that we've got there? Because obviously it was the council that set the group up in the first instance. So if you want to change the name, it would be logical to do it. Obviously, council's got to make that call.
Very much like the councillors to move to update our name to the suggestion, and also to move to ensure that going forward there's a minimum of 2 seats available to Takatapui representatives.
And I think Councillor O'Neill has an amendment to that effect. Is that correct, Councillor O'Neill? Yeah. So look, if you can just flick that through to, I think Heidi's already got that, so we can just incorporate that in the substantive to make things nice and efficient. Councillor Pannett, then Councillor Paul.
Well, thank you, Natalie and Tyler, for your fantastic work. It's so great to see you here. Look, I note your work program and note that it's not exclusive, but very keen to hear from you on planning issues as well. Let's get Wellington moving, our district plan as well. So I guess I'm just asking whether you think there would be room to consider that as we go into more consultation next year.
Absolutely. We wanted to present you with a plan that was very high level and overarching. We 100% acknowledge that almost everything, probably everything that council will be working on will be touching on our Rainbow communities and our Takatapui communities. And things like transport and the district plan are so important because particularly a lot of the Rainbow and Takatapui communities are disadvantaged communities and are lower socioeconomic communities. And those things like public transport are extremely important to us.
Thank you. Councillor Paul.
Kia ora kōrua. Thank you so much for all of your mahi in this really important space for our Rainbow communities. I just wanted to ask, I reckon the inclusion of Takatapui in the title is really important, but I feel like a lot of councillors don't actually know what that means. So would you be able to just give a bit of an explanation about your understanding of Takatapui and why, as co-chairs, it was important for you to have that in the title?
Definitely. I think I might let Natalie take that in a moment here. I just wanted to preface before we discuss is that we do have Takatapui members on our committee at the moment. And these are things that we have come unanimously to you with because of our understanding of partnership and the way that we would like to partner with our Takatapui communities is to ensure that there is space for those voices.
Okay. So for those who may not be familiar with the terminology, Takatapui is a Māori term and it historically means intimate companion of the same sex. Our Māori members may choose to identify as Takatapui instead of another form of identification. And the reason that we wanted to incorporate this into our group name is we wanted to make a clear statement of our commitment to the Māori members of our community and our wider obligations to Te Tiriti o Waitangi and our commitment to bilingualism or a bilingual world. So I think that's what started the conversation. But that being said, I wanted this to be an anchor that then guided the following work that we will be doing over the next year, and something that we refer back to more as the fact that we have this specified in this name, in our name, means that we're committing ourselves to doing more work in the space. While we do have 3 Takatapui members, we want Takatapui members to feel that they are fully recognised in this area and to feel as that though that they can be as involved as possible.
Look, thank you both. We are now at just about a time. So, Councillor O'Neill, do you want to ask a very, very quick question?
Kia ora, very quickly. Thank you both. My question is, in about another year's time, what would you like the Takatapui and Rainbow Communities Council annual report to look like in terms of what's your ideal way that you might, some things you might have been able to do, or the relationship with council, what does that look like?
We look to form a very extremely close relationship with our councillors and our council officers both. I expect that us as a committee, my feeling of our tone and our intent is to get in early on the projects that you're working on. We would like our initiatives and our communities to be included at the very outset of projects. We would really like to be able to advise you at the beginning so that you can create projects that are the best and most inclusive and most diverse as possible. Natalie?
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think we had this discussion just last week, and one of our members had said, look, I'm not interested in being in this group purely to be a focus group, and that I want to be a bit more hands-on and drive our initiatives. So I guess expect to see a bit more. We'll be quite a proactive group, or at least we intend to be very proactive in this space.
Natalie, Tyler, thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you also for your mahi to date. And if you want to stay online for the conversation that comes hereafter, you're very welcome. We've got 2 other advisory groups to come, and then I suspect we might be doing the morning tea, but so it might be a little while. But so come back if you want to. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, now we've got the AAG, which is Rachel. Welcome, Rachel. We're good to go. Morning, yep. Rachel. Morena.
I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So
yeah,
Rachel.
Thanks for the opportunity to. Bye.
Hi, Rachel. We've got you down for 10 minutes. We've read the report, but if you want to highlight whatever you want to highlight and leave time for questions, we'd really appreciate that. Wait, in your hands.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity to present. I think that this particular year was a good year for AAG, and that it was a year when we lifted our relationship with councillors and council officers and became a more strategic group. And our focus orientated more towards a leadership role and a monitoring role. And I think we'll never go backwards again. I think we've reached a point where we're at that we can continue in a more positive light. We also had a lot of stability with the people who came to the council. So Rebecca Matthews and Moana Mackay, and we also, Melissa Wells became the accessibility advisor within the council. So all those three things really helped us to get more traction and to have more influence across the council. And we really appreciated that. I think in the report we say there are 4 reasons for the improved way of working: more council leadership, consistent ELT leadership, and also consistent input from these democracy services, and having Melissa as the senior accessibility advisor. During the year, we were visited by Pōneke, who is the Human Rights Commissioner for Disability, and also the Director of the Office for Disability Issues, because they saw our model as a model for all the other councils in the country, in terms of how we worked as a group and how we connected with the council as a whole. So that was very positive. And going forward, we've talked about signing the Accessibility Charter, but I think that's going well now. I think that's about to be signed, if not yet signed. We've also appreciated connecting in with other councils, and we really believe with the Wellington, we need to have a greater Wellington focus, especially with Let's Get Wellington Moving. And that this council has a group like ours, but no other council in the Greater Wellington region has. And we believe that's the gap, and it impacts our ability to move things forward. So hopefully over the coming year, we'll get some more council setting up advisory groups like AAG, and then we can have a better representation and voice of an influence across some of those greater Wellington projects. So that's all from me. Happy to answer any questions from you.
Thank you, Rachel. I'll just ask you one quick question, and then Councillor Matthews is going to ask a question. Just after you and Nick came out and presented to the Regional Mayors Forum, have you had any feedback from any of the councils yet?
Yeah. At the end of that mayoral forum, we invited all the council to get in touch with us to explore the idea more, and no one did. Unfortunately, however,
right.
We believe that we can now take a step to go through the Chief Executive Group.
Yep.
And so we'll start that ball rolling soon, but so far we haven't heard from anyone.
Barbara's nodding vigorously. Yeah, look, we will follow that up and make sure, Rachel, that they do. That was the whole purpose of going out to talk to them. So, yeah, cool. Councillor Matthews.
Kia ora, Rachel, and thank you so much for all your leadership. Love you. Just wanted to ask about how you think the new accessibility law that's going to come in the Ministry for Disabled People will have an impact on council, on AAG, and also, I guess, just the wider issues for disabled people, because it's quite an exciting time.
Good question, and I think we all want to know the answer to that. In terms of the accessibility law, I think the community is actually feeling quite disappointed that it doesn't have more teeth. So I think that the council still needs to sign the Accessibility Charter and create its own high standard of expectation, if you like, and just keep on doing the work we're doing, because I think that is really just a group that will give feedback and so on, but it doesn't actually have any teeth, and the community wants something with teeth. But I think if we can model the way of doing it, that would be a good thing. And I'm taking that attitude with the DHB as well, that we've done the Accessibility Charter and we've created our expectations, and we will continue to work to that. And we'll just see what happens over there. With the Ministry of Disabled People, it's interesting how they're employing a whole lot of people. I think the biggest difference that it will make at the moment is that if you're accessing any support services of any kind, at the moment you have to navigate so many different agencies and processes to do that. So I think the first part of the new Ministry of Disabled People will be to create a more streamlined, coherent way of accessing support services or things. Like, for example, for me to access interpreters for work, I go to one agency. For health, I go to another agency. And for anything to do with my life in general, I have to go to another agency. And each one has rules and constraints that are different. So hopefully just having a clearer way of doing this. But the most important thing is that disabled people will have choice and control. So we will get the funding that will allow us to decide how we want to access these services and what we actually want to do. The big difference for the disability community actually is that we've never had the opportunity to create our own lives. We've always been put into a box, and it's been very much driven by the rules, and you're not allowed to step outside of them. So for the disability community to be told, what would you like to do? Where would you like to go? How would you like to participate in society? It's just something we've never been able to think about before. So that's quite a learning process as well. And I think that we will see the development of different organisations and entities who are after the disabled money, if you like, but in a better way of providing services, moving away from some of the more traditional provider approach. I think a lot of providers will change how they work as well. And I think there are opportunities for the council once we start getting some clarity, because it could be that how we provide some of our services, in particular for the housing, I think there'll be a lot of demand in that area. One other thing that's been brought in is the Enabling Good Life principles, which is a set of principles of way of thinking. For example, managing first, manner enhancing, begin early. And in the DHB, we're doing a lot of reflective exercises to see if our services, or to understand how our services get in the way of disabled people accessing good health services. And it would be quite good for the council to go through a similar exercise too, to look at the Enabling Good Life principles and go across all our public-facing processes and check whether we are giving disabled people an equal chance to access services in the same way as everyone else. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Thank you.
It was a great answer, though, so thank you very much. And thanks, Councillor Matthews, for the question. One last question, Councillor Pannett.
Kia ora, Rachel. Again, thank you very much for all the important work that you do. Look, I was just looking at your work program and just wanted to check with you that you are being getting your staff are asking for your views on things like Let's Get Wellington Moving and the district plan. I appreciate this is a thing from a year ago, but these are such massive pieces of work and it's absolutely critical that we get your feedback on them.
Yeah, if I can just take that question a little bit further, one of the things that personally I would love to see, and I know AAG has been involved in this conversation, is we don't have a way of capturing feedback from disabled people that tells us that the feedback is from them. So at the moment, our feedback is in the great mess with everyone else. I would love to see a mechanism set up, so across all the different initiatives, there is a tick box or something that indicates this person is from the disability community. Therefore, what's being said, it has more relevance in terms of access or inclusion, or those sorts of things. When it's in the mix and spread, the things that our community is trying to say get lost. So I'd really love to see the council set up a mechanism where we can identify this feedback and apply it. And that is relevant to both the long-term work plan and the Let's Get Wellington Moving initiative.
Thank you, Rachel. It's another good point for us to think about and how that might be done. So thank you again. We've got now the Pacific Advisory Group are going to come on stream. If you want to stay we'll then break for morning tea and then we'll come back to the discussion. So you're very welcome again to stay online for that if you want to. So and thank you again for all of your mahi. Right, and now it is time for the Pacific Advisory Group, and what a fantastic background we've got there. I feel you're very jealous. So, you've got. I don't know if you heard the 10 minutes. We've got the report, obviously, and if you want to leave some time for questions, we really appreciate that.
Morena koutou.
Right.
Morena koutou. Kia ora, no ia manoni Māori kalofalahi atu halo o la keta. Ni sambolina ka kia oranga malo lele talofa lava malo lava silifomo malangi mama and warm Pacific greetings from our Pacific Advisory Group. Koe au ko Natalia Fariti toku ingoa. My name is Natalia Fariti and I'm presenting today alongside my co-chair Anthony Carter. I just wanted to start things off by thank you all for the opportunity to worship the Mayor and fellow councillors for the opportunity to present our PAG annual report this morning, noting the time limit. So we'll take the report as read and we'll leave more time.
Thanks, Natalia. Yeah.
But I'm going to pass over to my co-chair, Anthony.
Talofa lava, whaftai mole avanoa. Greetings, everyone. I just wanted to acknowledge the other advisory groups and the fantastic work they've been doing. I've just been listening to some of their reports. Also wanted to acknowledge and express our appreciation to our PAG councillors, Councillor O'Neill, Councillor Matthews, our ELT rep, Liam Hodgetts, our awesome council officers, Sean Johnson, Alisi Poloka, Claire London, and there have been others as well that have helped throughout the period. I also wanted to acknowledge our members who have stepped down during the period. Miriam Masters, who's Cook Island rep, Sai Lea Lea, who's Fijian rep, Asiri Kua, who is Fijian rep, Dr. Alvin Mitakalina is a Niuean rep, and Ofania Ikuia is also the Niuean rep. They all stepped down during the period, which left a big hole. But also someone who has been really significant in leading the progress of PAG over the past few years and instrumental in contributions and impacts PAG has made is also our immediate past chair, Jocelyn Kua. Jocelyn has left some big shoes to fill, which is why we now have co-chairs. And lucky for us, Jocelyn still remains on PAG as one of our Tokelau reps. We also need to acknowledge our Pacific communities who entrust us with playing a role to represent them at this level, a level that helps to inform decisions and work. Now, I wanted us to acknowledge them at the front end of our time here this morning because they're not a tag on or a tick thing at the end. They're an important part of our fabric of our Pacific PAG whānau, ainga, and which is Pacific. I guess in the report, just a couple of highlight type things, I guess, in the report is that, the effects of COVID and the fantastic job that everyone has done navigating all these uncharted waters. For Pacific, historically, we often navigate uncharted waters. And I think one of the things that have come through is Pacific communities' resilience and support, and that's all been based on our Pacific values to help keep at bay the worst of the effects of COVID. And that's the sort of stuff that we look to bring into the council as well. Also, the agility to continue to play a role for and provide support to the council. And much like what we've experienced in COVID, ethnic specific engagement and education has been a key to making positive impacts on the work of PAG and the council, and it's been really pleasing to have more engagement with council departments and also early engagement in the planning stages of council work and being able to input and support that. Also, there's more interest and effort in understanding Pacific profiles, not just in the Wellington city area, but also of the Pacific profile and strengths within council. So we've been really pleased to see that sort of stuff. We've gone through a recruitment process. So whilst we've had a number of people come off, we've managed to go through our recruitment process, and we have now 2 new Cook Island members, 2 new Fijian members, a new Tokelau member, and a new Niue member. Our current gap in terms of our makeup is we still don't have a Tuvalu representative, but we'll work on that. The other part too, I think, was that I wanted to bring to attention was our experience and skills profile of the group. And it's been deliberate in design in terms of putting the group together. But we have everything from community engagement and development skills, policy skills, environmental skills, research, business, strategic design, project management, youth development, elderly, health, housing, and governance. So we're really well skilled in terms of being able to contribute wherever the council or the community want us to be contributing. Just a couple of thoughts on some of the stuff as I'm rushing through. Whilst there is a number of inputs and work streams for PAG, probably one thing that more work is needed on are the outcomes. So we feel we're doing a lot of good things and making an impact, but we need to do more work on how we know this. And I think that would be pretty helpful for the council in terms of reporting as well. Yeah, that's pretty much a quick run through on the report. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Natalia. And Anthony, Deputy Mayor Free.
Thank you, Anthony and Natalia. It's wonderful to see you, and I'm loving your background, Natalia. It's making me feel quite envious. But if you could just choose a couple of things that you really like to see PAG nail in the next 6 months to a year, would either of you be able to say what they might be? And how could we help?
Well, for me, Pacific people are contact people, right? We like the physical contact, physical presence in that. And I guess the difficulties at the moment is with group gatherings and understanding of where group gatherings can happen on how much is a bit of an issue. So in terms of council, it's I'm not sure if it's a help thing, but the messaging and the education of those sort of rules and changes is probably an area that needs to happen all over the place. But that would be something that I would work on.
Thank you. That's really interesting. Yeah.
I could just respond to that. Actually, it's also about how do we, touching on what you said about the objectives and the outcomes, how do we know we're being successful? And I think one of the things is how do we help council to embed some of that thinking into how policy is set as well. Some of you may recall the Kaipasa framework that the Ministry for Pacific Peoples.
Natalia, can you bring your speaker closer to you? It's quite hard to hear you.
Sorry, is that better?
That's
better. Probably a bit better, yes, yeah.
Oh, apologies, must be my hair.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just to recap, I said some of you may recall the Kaipasa Pacific Policy Framework that the Ministry for Pacific Peoples introduced a few years ago, and just to help council ensure that that is being spread throughout the staff and those who hold the pen in writing policies, and how can we help them understand it, maybe make it regular training session or something like that.
Thank you.
Both, yeah.
I've got just under 2 minutes, so if they can be reasonably quick. Councillor Matthews, Councillor O'Neill. Oh, no, that was the previous one, sorry. Okay, right, Councillor O'Neill.
Talofa, thank you, Natalia and Anthony. I just wanted to recognise the amount of service that you've given to the community, how awesome it is. My question is around, in your report, you talk a lot about the changes, and namely the advisory group review, new ELT and new officers. I just wondered if you might like to reflect on the level of support PAG is receiving at the moment, and if there's anything we can do in the following year to improve our relationships up and through council with Pacifica Advisory Group members.
the support has been really, really good. It's certainly when I joined, which was maybe a couple of years ago now, the presence of the council officers and the councillors has actually increased tenfold, and I think that's been helpful in terms of allowing us to stay focused on what we need to be focused on in terms of supporting the council. Because I think prior to that, we sort of might have guessed what we were doing and sort of thought this might be good, and therefore the scope was going a bit too wide. So it's helped us narrow our focus and being able to laser our support for the council. So I think it's been excellent, and we already said that there are some council officers that are not allowed to go anywhere because they've been that good for us.
And look, thank you very much for that beautiful answer. And can I just say that the message I think that I've heard from across the board from advisory groups is of the stepping up of the relationship between the councillors, the council officers, and the advisory groups. And I think that's something we just is really great to hear, and obviously something we want to continue to build on. So thank you very much for your work over the last year and for the work that is still to come. Now, councillors, what we'll do is we'll take a 15-minute break for morning tea, and to any of our advisory group members who want to stay online, we'll resume again in 15 minutes, which I make as... Right. We'll come back at 5:02. Back on? Look, welcome back, everyone. So we're now going to move to the first paper, which is the report from the advisory groups. Officers, did you need to say anything? Because I think it's all pretty... No? Cool. Are there any questions? I don't see any. Cool. Right, so Councillor Matthews is going to introduce...
And I remember to stand up as well, which was good. Great start. Yes, I am standing up. Thank you. I just really briefly want to thank so much the members of all our advisory groups. They add so much to our organisation, and I have to say, on a personal level, working with the advisory groups is one of the most enjoyable aspects of the job. I love it. And I want to thank ELT, and for the members that support the group, Democracy Services for all the work that they do to support the groups, and other officers, and councillors for the great job that councillors do working alongside these community members. And I think that all of us who are attached to the groups would say we get a lot out of it. I would like to especially welcome to the whānau, the Takatapui Rainbow Advisory Council track, which I think I can see a cool sort of 80s logo, maybe with some neon pink and lime or something. But yeah, I just think all of those contributions showed how much fantastic work they do and how much they add to our work as a council. Is Councillor O'Neill there? Because I would like to invite her to second this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. And Councillor O'Neill, would you like to second, please? I think we actually need her online to be able to second. You there? If she's not, well, if she's not, I'm going to ask somebody who is part of one of the groups. Councillor Paul, would you like to second?
Sure. Yeah.
Would you like to speak?
I'll reserve my right.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
I think that summary was great.
Right. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? I've got Deputy Mayor Free and then Councillor Wolfe.
I will be truly brief, but what I really wanted to say was it was so lovely to hear every single group say that things were going very well, and the support they were getting from officers and the reps on, the councillor reps and other councillors was unsurpassed. And I think that's really, I'm really grateful to hear that. And so thank you to Mr MacArthur, who heads up our governance team, and to whoever else on the ELT has been involved, and to Officer Johnson, you were mentioned. But just thank you to everyone who's obviously providing such excellent support that we're able to really get the most out of our advisory groups, and they feel that their contribution is valued and that they're making a difference.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Wolfe.
Yes, I'd just like to endorse what other people have said. Our advisory groups are really valuable to us, but most of them are actually best practice as well. And I'd like to highlight the work that particularly the Youth Council have achieved. Over nearly a decade now, they've been, leading edge, and it's one of the areas that I would encourage each and every councillor to go along to a youth council meeting and see what they achieve in a cohesive and collaborative sort of manner. The other thing that I think is really amazing is the succession of how young people who are on the youth council achieve after they've left the youth council. I just have to look around here at Officer Johnson, colleague Fleur Fitzsimons here, Terry O'Neill, Brad Olsen, who's doing wonderful things in the world, and I have no doubt that members of the current youth council will be equally as able in the future, and look forward to watching their progress. I think that sometimes our advisory boards are taken for granted a little bit, and I'd just like to say that in the future, even after I've left this place, I will not be taking those advisory groups for granted at all. I just appreciate what they do, the time, effort and energy that they give us and what they offer is immense. So I'd just like to say thank you to each and every one of them, and that I enjoyed each and every one of their reports as well, the papers that they presented as part of today. So yeah, just a big endorsement of what they achieve, and also what our officers achieve as well. I was very fortunate in my term to have Simon Wright there as the person that probably mentored me as much as he mentored those in the youth council, and I think that pattern still exists today. So there's great continuity and consistency. So yeah, congratulations.
Thanks, Councillor Wolf. Councillor O'Neill. And sorry, we had to start without you, so to speak, there. So we had to get Councillor Paul to second. But you're on now.
Oh, I didn't know I was seconding.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. Yeah, look, thank you. I just wanted to reflect, I guess, on the year that's been and how difficult it's been for our advisory groups. They haven't been able to recruit for that cohort of members. And so quite often you'll find it's down to 6 or it's down to 10 of them that are doing the work of 15 people or 20 people. And I just wanted to reflect on something that was in the Pacifica Advisory Group's report that demonstrates commitment comes from your ethnic communities and communities with integrity and pride, and that's what makes the work all the worthwhile. Yeah, you've already heard from 2 of my advisory groups today, and I take a lot of pride in them. And just to reflect on Simon Wolf's point just then, when I was on youth council, and I try not to talk about it too much because it sounds a bit dorky, but when I was on youth council, it was the service of Councillor Day and Councillor Wolf, and it was literally, I think I was 15 years old, the service of those city councillors, and I tell this story, literally just lending an ear and being an encouraging force. And I remember Simon talking to my mother, and she wasn't very approving of me and politics, my interest in local government, didn't think it was a good use of my time. And Simon Wolf said, hey, like these people are really bright. And I do hope that Terry goes on to pursue it. So thanks so much, Simon, because you kind of steered me on the path from 15 years old. And now here I am being a pain in your backside on council. But I get to work with you in many other committees and other roles there. We have had a really tough time in our advisory groups, and I just wanted to reflect how warmly all of our members are in staff relationships, and I think that's probably one of the most valuable experiences I've had through council, is the relationships I'm able to build with staff. And so to Heidi and Sean and Elise, our awesome democracy services advisors, and Liam and Karipa and Meredith, some of our top tier awesome ELT members that really take the time to build relationships there. And of course, Claire and Bondi, I think it was Youth Council earlier said, Claire does so awesome, her and her team. Well, Claire's just Claire at the moment in the engagement team, and she's able to do all of this work. And I know that not only does she support our advisory groups, but also goes out to multicultural council in Wellington and meets with interfaith as well to make sure they too have a really awesome connection. Yeah, I guess thank you, Mayor Foster, for including 2 amendments that Takatapui and Rainbow Council Advisory Group would like to see here, and I'm super excited to see.
Councillor O'Neill, I've got to give you another few seconds to wrap up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just super excited to see what comes out of this. At the moment, the Rainbow Communities Advisory Group are working with our CCOs, and we are also organising a hui this coming Monday with Councillor Paul around our 3 big consultations, because we feel like we need to go out and do a bit more with our community there. And yeah, just to signal, I guess, the members that have left our communities and the thanks that we give, and that it really does feel like a big family. Whenever something happens to one of the advisory group members, we all pull together as a family, and we make sure we go visit them outside of council as well. And just, yeah, how valuable that relationship is, and how stoked I am. I'm very excited about this stuff. And it is a good day at council. So kia ora.
Thanks, Councillor O'Neill. I just wanted to say a few words because I think there is something that's been missing from the discussion so far. First one is that there were some key messages which I think have come from all of our advisory groups, and I wanted to thank all of our advisory groups for the fantastic mahi that they've done during the year. And I think the messages which came through, really difficult year, in the sense of, COVID has just been so difficult, and obviously getting people together, recruiting, all of those sort of things. So thank you all for being able to work your way through that. Second one is the sheer busyness, and you look at the programs that each of those advisory groups have gone through, and that's a reflection of the busyness of the council as well. So in a sense, the thanks to all of you, and thanks also to all of our staff for the great mahi that's been done over the last, 18 months or so with these. The other message which came through really strongly is the enhancement in the relationship between every one of those advisory groups and the council. And I think that's really heartwarming to hear. And obviously we've established the Takatapui Rainbow Advisory Group as well during that time. In terms of thanks, I wanted to say thank you to all of the advisory groups. I want to say thank you, Barbara, to you and your whole team, particularly the Democratic Services team for the support they've given. But the bit that's been missing here is I wanted to particularly say thank you to the councillors who've been involved in that. So, I hope I don't miss anyone, but I think particularly if I can really single out Councillors Matthews and O'Neill, because you are on several of those advisory groups, and I think your passion for the work that is done there, your constant advocacy for that. I'm particularly thinking of the accessibility side of things, Councillor Matthews. I just want to say thank you for that fabulous mahi from both of you. Also thank you to Councillor Paul, thank you to Councillor Foon. I'm not sure if I've got everybody who's a regular attender Councillor Day, but thank you for all of your mahi, because that relationship comes through really strongly in the feedback that we're getting from the advisory groups as to how appreciative they are. So thank you.
And Councillor Fitzsimons.
And Councillor Fitzsimons too. I'll look up my apologies there too. So, but for all of you, thank you, councillors, for the work that you're doing with our advisory groups. Councillor Foon.
Standing. Yes, just a big thank you to all our advisory groups for the mahi that you're doing. And sometimes I feel like I'd like to connect more, but it's almost a trust too that you are there and you are providing the information. So thank you so much for that. But I just wanted to acknowledge what the Mayor has said, and I do really want to acknowledge Councillor Matthews. I think if we're giving away awards for councillors at the end of the year, you will most certainly get the award for your mahi around accessibility and advocacy for them. So I really want to thank you for that. Yep. Kia ora.
Thanks, Councillor Foon. Councillor Matthews, having been glowingly praised, would you like to write a reply?
The lovin' may end.
Okay, councillors, thank you. We'll go to the vote then. Okay, that takes us to the next paper, which is the submission of paper. What have I done with it? What I'm doing, bearing these here. Officers, Siobhan, would you like to say anything in introducing this, please?
I think this will be pretty self-explanatory. This is a submission that the team has worked on in response to the Ministry for Environment's proposal for a new waste strategy and a document that outlined the issues and options for leading to new legislation on that. So our submission is relatively supportive of it. We have suggested that there needs to be increased focus on construction and demolition waste, the need to establish baseline data so that we can actually measure our improvement over time is critical as well, the need to engage throughout the development of this with Maori and have that engagement through far more clearly defined. So the new legislation will be drafted through 2022. There will be future opportunity for consultation through the select committee process. I know that there are a number of amendments. I've got the team online. So I'd like to introduce Alice Ash. She's a new member of Baz's team. So she's the scribe of this submission. Also with her is Emily Taylor-Hall, who you all know. We've got Emma Richardson and somebody else. Who else is there? Oh, Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Sorry, you're so far away. I couldn't see you.
So, councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Rush and then Councillor Calvert.
Yeah, thanks for the submission, guys. I just wondered, has any thought been given to using waste in landfills as a means to sequester carbon? So carbon heavy products, paper, timber, treated timber, that sort of stuff is all carbon dioxide, which can be buried and permanently sequestered. So is that featuring anywhere? I did a paper on this at university.
Didn't do a paper on. I don't know. I'll ask the team.
No, it hasn't, but we are encouraging innovation and funding to support innovation through this submission, but also the carbon plan submission that you considered yesterday.
Okay.
Thanks. Councillor Calvert and then Councillor Pannett.
Thank you. So this submission is obviously from behalf of council. Can individuals make submissions?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's obviously quite a few amendments. Have officers missed something significant given the amount of amendments there are?
No, I think mostly the amendments that have been made are in line and just bringing a stronger emphasis to most of the points we've made.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So just to be clear, Siobhan, the amendments basically the ones you support.
Yes.
Yes, and they're a flavour rather than of change of direction. Yeah, cool. Thank you, Councillor Pannett.
Thank you, staff, for all your work. I did check the website for MFE just to see if there was any more analysis done. But can you just confirm that they actually did no evaluation of how the 2008 Act had worked?
I think there's definitely evidence of some evaluation through the submission document, but there will be various parts, for example, around enforcement, that there wasn't a lot of transparency there, but it doesn't necessarily mean they haven't done the evaluation. But that is something that would be useful to see when a more detailed proposal comes forward.
So yeah, so I'd be looking for things like the failure to increase the levy over the last decade, you know, that kind of thing. So are you confident that they will do that?
As part of the submission, the consultation, one of their key focuses for the new legislation is to maximise the waste levy and by doing so increasing the levy as well. They haven't given an amount, and I think they're still looking at suggestions from us and guidance. But that is one of the key parts of the legislation, is focusing on the levy.
Yeah, so just my concern is that we did have some good legislation, but it hasn't been implemented fully. I know they've made a start, and I just wanted to see if there was any reflection about making sure that this piece of legislation succeeds. Okay, thank you.
That's all the questions. Thanks, officers. So I'm going to ask for a mover, Councillor Foon, and away you go.
Councillor Pannett, will you be able to second? Yay. So it is my pleasure to be the mover of this paper today, because I think this kind of movement cajoles normal citizens like me to put their hand up for council. And when I came onto council when I was speaking the word circular economy, I sometimes felt like I was talking witchcraft. So to have the government come back with a vision, apologies, Councillor Young, I know what is going through your head, because the government is now having visions about the country moving toward a I won't comment, because problem with this is that we are 10 years behind because of the no vision from the prior government, but I'll post that, I'll leave that. So it is quite an amazing thing that the government has come back with this very strong direction on how we deal with waste. I know that it has been brought to my attention that we talk a lot about waste at the council and as councillors, but actually there is a good reason for that. It is a massive problem. And as it is a core kaupapa of council work, and it is in transition, like our emissions, we are needing to do a lot of work to get back on track. So I know you know this, but Aotearoa is behind. We are one of the worst polluters in the OECD. Our normal for New Zealand are the huge amounts of volumes of waste we produce, but in countries like Taiwan, it's gone from being known as Waste Island to being a recycling leader. New Zealanders are worried, so in our Colmar-Brunton report this year, there are 3 aspects of waste that feature in the Colmar-Brunton report. This is alongside the cost of living, how we treat our children, and suicide. So that shows you how much New Zealanders are worried about waste. So, officers have come back with an excellent submission which outlines the challenges and opportunities ahead for the City Council and our community. And I thank Siobhan for presenting the key points, but I would like to add to those 3 key points from the Council. We do need more ability to enforce. We've got a really big problem with trucks particularly going through to Awhiro community, and there is a lot of debris dropping off those trucks. And
Councillor, the 3 minutes is up.
Sorry,
so if I can get you to come to a conclusion soon.
Okay, there we go. So I have brought forward a few more amendments to bring to this today, which hopefully you've been able to read, but I think we need to look at an agency, possibly like Zero Waste Scotland, and that MFE and the levy is not high enough to make the change we actually need to go forward. This is documented in a report. So I do hope that you will support this today so that we can go forward for the future for a circular economy, and that Wellington will be a leader in that. Thank you, and hand over to I'll let you hand over to Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Foon. Very well done. You saved yourself there. Councillor Pannett seconding. Do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do, just really briefly. Look, you know, as it's said, it's not easy being green. Well, it's getting easier. We've now got a government department talking about the circular economy after many years of activism from the community. And of course, I acknowledge my colleague for her fantastic leadership in this space. It is no longer radical, and that is fantastic. And, you know, this organisation, I've expressed my frustrations. I was asked once, what's the problem with construction and demolition waste? But that is now being seen as a problem, and I think we've got an excellent submission, so thank you so much for that. Look, the only point I really want to make, because I think it's good, and I think Councillor Foon's amendments, I checked through them carefully, I think they're really, really helpful, and I've just added a few more on as well, is that, you know, we did have groundbreaking legislation in 2008, and if the national government had not sat on its hands for 9 years, we would be a lot further along on our waste journey. There was a lot of good things in there, like the waste levy and product stewardship, which just were not done because of powerful business interests. So it's great to see this this work being done. We're behind, and I guess just what I want staff to reflect on is when we submit next time is how we make sure that we don't get that situation happening again, where we had that 9 years of inaction, and that legislation actually has teeth, and that we get some real progress. But look, I think it's a great submission, and very grateful for all the work that's been put into it.
Thank you. I see no other speakers. Councillor Foon, do you wish for a right of reply?
I just would like to once again acknowledge Councillor Pennant for the pioneering work that you have done in this space, and also just acknowledge the team from Wellington City Council. This is a really complex space and it's not easy, and I just want you to know that we know you do such a great job for us, and we hear that from the community, and just to thank you for all your work.
Thank you. Anybody want to take any part separately? I see people just wanting to vote, so we will do that. Thank you all. Right, we'll move on to the elected member appointments. Mr. MacArthur, is there anything you needed to say? Looks pretty straightforward. Yep, cool, thank you. So, councillors, I'm just going to introduce this just quickly. When Councillor, or now former Councillor Sparrow stood down, there was one thing that we didn't, one responsibility that we didn't fill. This was this one here, which is representation on the Local Government New Zealand Zone 4. We're entitled to have 4 at the moment. That's myself, the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Day. There are often some very, very interesting presentations, interesting issues, and obviously it's an opportunity to rub shoulders too with our sister councils around the region. And so what we've essentially got to do is receive the information, decide whether we're going to fill that space. We don't have to, but we can. And then if we do, at the moment I understand there are 2 people who want to put their hands up for it. Then we will go through the process of I'll give them a couple of minutes each to say why they would like to do that, and then we go to a vote. And it's a straight vote, candidate A, candidate B, and the one that gets the most wins. Okay, so it'll be a vote 1 or vote 2.
We ask the question.
Of the paper? Don't be mean.
I want to see you pull them out of a hat.
No. The joy is though that if it's even, I don't think I get casting a vote for this one, do I? I think I did check, and I think it's actually then goes to lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So then we will have to go for the hat if that happens. So. Right. Okay. So, councillors, I'm going to move. I'm going to move first of all that we receive the information and that we agree to appoint a councillor to that role.
So that's the first decision.
That's the first decision, and then we will go to people putting their hands up and then do the vote. Okay, councillors. So I'm going to move that, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Is there any debate on that? I see none. Right. Okay. Well, let's vote first of all, receiving the information and agreeing to appoint.
Councillor Pennant does want to speak to it.
Oh, you wish to speak to appointing someone and receiving information?
Yes, I do, Foster.
Me.
Just very briefly, given we're not maybe going to have a chance to quiz the candidates, I would just be interested to hear in your speeches, whoever puts their hand up, about how our interests will be represented through major government reform. This is one of the avenues. As you know, I am deeply uncomfortable about what central government has in mind for local government. So I would very much like to hear from candidates about how they will do that effectively, coherently, and bring colleagues along with them. Kia ora.
Councillor Day.
As someone, as a councillor
please.
who's on this, I just want to say that yes, we do go there as representatives of this council, but we're not in a decision-making forum. So just so people are very aware that whoever it is there, actually more than anything, getting information from the community, from Local Government New Zealand, from the people who come and speak. And it's actually less about what we want and getting more information so that we can feed it back and have discussions amongst council, like we did the other day after the Local Government New Zealand, which I want to call Local Government Aotearoa Zone 4 meeting, regarding the Three Waters. So I think it's less about what we're putting out in that particular forum, more about what we're bringing back and information. So just to make that clear, kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor Day. Right, I don't feel the need for a right of reply to this one. So let's vote, please. Councillors, as far as I'm aware, Councillors Rush and Condi are the two who are keen to put their hands up. I see a nod from Councillor Condi. Councillor Rush, I see a nod there. Is there anyone else, just to make sure that it's just the two? Okay. I've already explained that. Yeah, yep. Right, okay. So councillors, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you both 2 minutes. We'll put the time up there if you just say why you're interested, why you think it should be you. We haven't had to do this very often, so I think we should probably do it on alphabetical order. Councillor Condi, do you want to go first?
As you wish. Happy to do so. Pardon me. Sorry that I can't be there in person, everyone. I've got a little tickle in my throat today, so staying home out of an abundance of caution. I'll be off for a COVID test after this. I'm really keen to stand as the Zone 4 rep because I was on the Wellington, the Mayor's Task Force on Three Waters, and feel like I have a lot to offer to the discussions around Three Waters reform. But at the moment, I don't actually have an official capacity in which I can do that. The Mayor is obviously on a number of mayoral forums. Councillor Rush is obviously on the Wellington Water Committee, which gives them ways to participate in that conversation officially. So being able to be the Zone 4 rep would be a great opportunity to add that voice in. And while I absolutely acknowledge Councillor Rush is all over the operational detail of Wellington Water, I do think I have a lot to offer in terms of thinking about the financial issues and the governance issues and how we're going to address some of those thorny challenges going forward. I can also commit that I'll email you with updates after each meeting so that you can have some idea about what's going on and, be able to be an advocate for the climate change and zero waste work that the council's really leading on at the moment. And finally, I just wanted to reference mana whenua as well and think about how, as a group of councils, we could work more effectively with our mana whenua reps. I remember meeting a woman from Ngāti Toa Rangatira at one of our LTP discussions, and she was in the middle of writing 8 submissions on 8 different LTPs that go across the Ngāti Toa Rangatira rohe. So I think it would be great for us to also be able to start thinking about how we can do that better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Condi. Councillor Rush.
Okay. Well, first of all, I have to apologise, I suppose. When this first came out, I was quite flippant about it and thought, last thing I really need is another sort of day talk fest. But actually, I've now realised that this role is actually quite crucial to where we go with Three Waters. And I acknowledge Councillor Condi's expertise in this area, but colleagues, I have actually been a leading voice for Area C. I have brought us together. I have been actually endorsed by Chairman Ponta to go to the on the working group, but couldn't get traction. The Area C1 and Area C2 idea that I have developed and kicked tyres with actually went into the submission of Greater Wellington Regional Council, and the conversations I'm having, I'm on the fortnightly mayoral and CEO call with Local Government New Zealand, had one yesterday, where we met the chair of the working group, Doug, I can't remember his last name, ex-State Services,
Martin.
Very impressive. Yeah, and it was odd. I was the only one that was asking questions. So what I really want to do is actually utilise this forum as a means to chat with my counterpart, chairs of infrastructure from the other regional councils, and to try and align us. I've already had discussions with many of the mayors in Area C, from Napier, Wairoa, obviously the Wellington Water mayors and so forth. So for me, this is really gives me the right forum to really champion Wellington's voice, because unfortunately we're not getting that voice in other areas.
Thanks, Councillor Rush. Okay, councillors, just to walk you through what we're going to do. Councillor Condi went first, so if you want Councillor Condi, you press the green button, number 1. If you want Councillor Rush, you press the red button, number 2, and we see where the cards lie. Everyone clear? Cool. Right.
Are you able to read out the results for us?
Yes.
So that's Councillor Rush.
Councillor Rush has 8 votes. Councillor Condi has 6. So Councillor Rush is the appointed councillor. Thank you, councillors. And these are all, if I might say, thank you both for putting your hands up, because these are quite difficult things to be able to stick your hand up in the public arena. I mean, I've had to do that many times. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. No, I mean amongst your peers. Councillors, we now have Mr. MacArthur. Do you need to introduce anything in relation to the next 2 papers? Didn't think you would. Are there any questions of officers? Okay, I'm going to move the action tracking paper, seconded by Councillor Young. Thank you. Is there any debate? I see none, so let's vote. Councillor Matthews? Sorry. Thank you. Right, I'll move straight on to the forward program. Again, are there any questions? I see none. I'm going to move, seconded by Councillor Young. You want to do it again? Thank you. Any debate? See none, so let's vote, please. Thank you. That takes us to committee reports. First one, Councillor Wolfe, do you want to introduce the... Oh, sorry. Yes. Is there anything the staff want to say? They're not online? Well, I would presume, Councillor Wolfe, was it pretty straightforward? It was pretty straightforward. Are there any questions, councillors? I see none. Councillor Wolfe, would you like to introduce it?
I so move.
Yes, you should have stood up.
Sorry for the official record. I so move. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep. Thank you. Seconded by somebody who's on the committee. Thank you, Councillor Matthews. Any debate? We'll put the motion. What happened there? That was carried. Right, okay. Thank you. Councillor Rush, do you want to introduce the next paper, please?
Shouldn't officers be...
Oh, well, yeah, sorry, I'm neglecting that. But these have been through committee, so there shouldn't really be a need for officers to present them.
Okay.
But Councillor Rush.
Well, folks, without taking much time, the basis of this was this sewage. I thought we were getting rid of Project Jasmine as a name, which did have a lot of interest from the press. But I'm very pleased to present the report, which approves or recommends the approval of an increase in budget to get us through to financial close next year. And it was unanimously endorsed by the Infrastructure Committee. I so move.
Thank you. Have we got a seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Right, is there any debate?
I need to say anything.
That's okay. Any debate online?
They've
Nope.
already voted.
They've already voted? Well, that clearly. Right, let's vote. Okay, thank you. It's passed. Councillors, we are almost there. So I'm going to move now. I might say this was, as I sent you a little note round, this was an error that it was in, the paper was in public, but it wasn't supposed to be. in my papers anyway, 7.2a and section 48.1a, which is essentially to protect the privacy of natural persons. So I will move that, seconded by Councillor Calvert. Thank you. Is there any debate? Don't see any, so let's vote, please. Councillor Foon? Laurie? Yeah. Can you vote? Yeah. Yep. Thank you. We'll just take a moment to turn the cameras off.